Cavs get a bounce back win versus a very good Memphis Grizzlies team. I think they needed it bad, but before we talk about Darius Garland balling, before we talk about Evan Mobley continuing to ball, we need to talk about what I feel like everybody's going to be talking about after that game, which is Donovan Mitchell got ejected because he decided to fight Dillon Brooks in this game. And usually like NBA fights aren't that big of a deal, right? Somebody gets pushed a little bit slightly, they move back and then they get mad. This was a little bit different. Now, it wasn't malice at the palace level, but boy, were we close. Like, it did not feel like we were far away from it. So what happened if you did not watch the game or if you have not seen a clip? And I do advise that you do. I can't put it on here for obvious copyright reasons. But basically what happened was Donovan Mitchell gets the ball, right? I think he got it because he got it passed to him or something. Or he saved it. He gets the ball. Dillon Brooks thinks he's slick, right? Because Dillon Brooks, now imagine the camera is where Donovan Mitchell is, right? So Dillon Brooks falls to the ground and he's looking and he sees his Donovan Mitchell. Then he turns around and then all of a sudden his arm shoots up and it right in the groin, the manscaped area. And Donovan Mitchell did not like that. And it's something where, one, if it were any other player, maybe incidental contact, I'll give you the brass on it. But it's Dillon Brooks. And if you don't know, Dillon Brooks has a bit of a reputation for being kind of an asshole. So, and specifically being an asshole to Donovan Mitchell. So Donovan Mitchell felt that groin punch and reacted, I felt like, accordingly, threw the basketball at the man. And then what I do appreciate that Donovan Mitchell because I have a hard time with NBA fights because it's so obvious sometimes that people start these fights with the intention being, I want it to look like I wanted to start a fight. Not necessarily I wanted to get into a fight. And again, I'm not advocating for violence, but if we are going to show violence on the television, we do need to teach the babies that, hey, if you're going to start a fight, get in there. You know what I mean? Don't hesitate. Don't look like you're trying to mug for the cameras. I think too many kids these days see somebody start a fight, mug for the camera, think that's how they, what Donovan Mitchell did was throw that basketball at him and fouled up. That's what I'm talking about. He fouled up by getting in his chest. That's what I'm talking about, Donovan Mitchell. I hope they don't suspend you, but that's what I'm talking about. If you're going to start a fight, get in his chest. Now, I would always advise people to not start a fight because, again, I'm not telling the kids to fight. But again, I understand that there are certain situations where you end up and your emotions and your mind loses to a point to where you feel like you got to start that fight. And my advice to you is, if you're going to start that fight, start the fight. Don't think about it. You got to go. And that's what Donovan Mitchell did that I appreciate. He got that basketball up. He threw it at him. And he didn't decide to wait to see if one of his teammates would run over and stop it and be like, oh, no, Donovan, don't get into a fight. All of this. He didn't wait for that. He went straight up to Dillon Brooks, went and got him in his chest and said enough. You know what it reminded me of? Is some of you in this audience, if you grew up in a household, if you were a young man in a household or grew up in a household that had young men and there was a father present in the household or a father figure, you know what I mean? It don't got to be about it, just anybody, a man in the house with other young children, men. There is a point in people's lives where you witness one of them, boy, you think you grown kind of shakeups where somebody get mugged up and then pushed and because they think they grown. And that's what Donovan Mitchell gave to Dillon Brooks. He gave him the, you think you grown right now. You think you grown? You think you grown? You think this your house? I appreciate Donovan Mitchell for doing that. You know what I mean? I would hate if Donovan Mitchell handled this physical altercation in a way that I cannot respect, but he handled it in a way that I can respect. Ultimately, I don't want him to do that because he's too important to get suspended. But if you're going to do it, you got to do it right? Because how would we feel if he did to Carmelo Anthony? And for those of you who don't know, Carmelo Anthony once punched a man in the face and then sprinted across the court and ran away. Now, that's not respectable behavior. People talk about all these reasons why he got traded away from Denver or moved off of New York. That's why, because he punched a man in the face and ran off. You can't respect that kind of behavior. That's why he never won a championship, because he out here doing unrespectable behavior. Now I have confidence that Donovan Mitchell can win a championship because he handled that respectfully. You know what I mean? Not respectfully in terms of Dylan Brooks, but respectfully in terms of the general scheme of things, which is, hey, if you're going to start a fight, start a fight. Don't kind of start a fight, start the fight. Again, I don't advocate for violence. I don't want the children out here doing that. But children, understand, you throw a basketball at a man's head, you understand, you in a fight. Ain't no in between. You in a fight, you got to act like you in a fight. And that's all I'm saying. Because I hate when people do this in sports all the time. They start fights and they try to act like they wasn't trying to start a fight. Nah, you start the fight, start the fight. You know what I mean? Don't throw the chair and talk like you ain't about. No, throw the chair and then rush in behind it and, handle your business. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Again, please don't get into fights. Please don't get into a fight and tell your parents or your guardians or your teachers that Quincy told you to get in a fight or Quincy told you to handle it like that. I'm just saying, if you're going to be in the situation, handle the situation. But that's how I respect what Donovan Mitchell did. He honestly had a bad game. He only had 6 points, 2 of 11 from the floor. He was bad today. He's been having a slump. I don't think he's really had 30 since that Utah game. And then even since the 72-point game, he really hasn't had consistent 30-point outputs like he used to. I think he's going to be better after the All-Star break. I think he really needs to rest that groin injury. And honestly, if I were the Cavs, I know it's an important stretch coming up, but I would think about resting him for a couple of days here, just so he can get that groin back, because it seems to bother him every time. And I don't want Donovan Mitchell to have anything bugging him in the playoffs, because we need him to be peak Donovan Mitchell. Right now, he's just not that. And there's no point running him out there if he's only going to get 15 points. And the reason we don't have to do that is because we got Darius Garland, y'all. And see, look, I ain't gonna lie, we've been wrapped up in the Donovan Mitchell so much that we done forgot about Darius Garland. The NBA done forgot about Darius Garland. Everybody done forgot about Darius Garland. Everybody acting like the Cavs ain't got weapons if Donovan Mitchell ain't out there. It's like Darius like, yo, you still got me. This team only had me last year. Now they got me. Everybody talking about Larry Marketing. Larry Marketing wasn't putting up points like that with the Cavs last year. It was Darius. That was when Darius went out and Larry was out there. Larry wasn't putting up 20. Everybody want to talk about Larry. Everybody want to talk about Donovan. We done forgot about Darius. Darius had a fantastic game. 32, 11, and 2. Shot 11 and 19 from the floor. I think he took it personal. I think whenever he plays Ja Morant, he wants to show that he is the best point guard, that he is one of the best young point guards. So he decides to go at Ja Morant, and he certainly went at Ja Morant. Had a plus minus of 15. Ja Morant had 24 points, but a plus minus of negative 14. 9 of 20 from the floor. Wasn't as efficient as Darius Garland was. Jared Allen had another solid night. 11 rebounds, 18 points. Good on him. Isaac Okoro had 12 of 3. And I thought the engine of today's game was the big play. Darius did what he had to do, made those points over top, and that definitely helped. And I think Cedi Osman also helped with his 21. And then Ricky played a good game, but he got like a couple threes in garbage time. So I don't think them 13 points was really like helpful, because they were already up by 20 by that point. By the way, we blew out the Grizzlies, which is something to note. As down as we can get on this Cavs team. I put 2 videos out where I'm like, what's going on with the Cavs? They just beat the Grizzlies by like 20 points at home. So maybe there ain't nothing that wrong with them, right? Like, maybe we can overreact to these things. But I thought the heart of this game and the reason that they were able to take these leads were these strong performances they got from their bigs. I thought Evan Mobley was fantastic today, and I thought Jared Allen was fantastic. I think you got great games from both of them on both ends of the floor. Evan Mobley, 7 to 17 points here. I say this all the time, for all the criticism people have for Evan Mobley's offensive game, if he had more shot attempts, he would average more points. And I'm not saying that as far as like a pure volume stat. I'm saying like he shoots similar percentages from the field when he gets 17 shots than when he gets 7. It's just he doesn't get that many shots these days. And I'm just going to point this out. Karis LeVert didn't play today, and I felt like that made the team flow better. Now, again, I know Karis LeVert, there are some people who really like him, some people who defend him, And I understand why you would defend a player like Harris, but I think there are some things that aren't showing up on the stat sheet that make this team better when he doesn't play. And I think it frees up shots for better players. You know, Evan Mobley all of a sudden has an easier time getting shots. Now, part of that had to do with Donovan Mitchell, but Donovan Mitchell took like 11 shots today. So, like, it wasn't like he wasn't factoring in here. And I think Evan had like 12 of that 17 in the first half. It frees up opportunities and shots for other players. I think Jetty fits better as that bench energy piece than Caris LeVert, because Caris will dribble and stop the momentum of the ball a lot, and he's not as good of a spot up shooter. I think Jetty is a better spot up shooter, and when Jetty is on, he is an incredible spot up shooter. Now that's random with him, and he's not the best ball handler in the world, and that's why we needed to trade for Caris last year. But now that you have Donovan Mitchell and you have Darius Garland, and honestly, Evan Mobley has progressed enough as a ball handler to where he can handle some of those responsibilities on top of Ricky Rubio being healthy. You don't really have this need for more dribblers. You have need for more spot up shooters right now, and I think Jetty fits better with this rotation in this roster versus Caris LeVert, and I think it's showing here. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I thought Evan played a great game. And again, we talk a lot about Evan Mobley, and whatever he doesn't have offensively, he seems to have enough. Jared Allen did a good job, 9 of 12 from the floor. That's a regular Jared Allen night. But I do think, like, I'm intrigued by some of the progression that I've seen from Evan. By the way, we had 4 blocks in between both Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Just a tremendous game from both of them. And then what 4 blocks between the both of them, and 3 steals. Like, these two, when they are on and when they have space and opportunity, like tonight, there's such a dynamic duo. And then you add on the other dynamic duo. All this team needs is a legit wing player. If they can get a legit wing player, they're going to be in a great situation. I like where this team is headed. I think it was a good bounce back performance after a disappointing loss to the Heat. Now let's see what this team does forward up until the All-Star break, and then we'll get out the All-Star break and talk more about this Cavs team. But that's my thoughts on this game. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Everybody have a great day. Have a good night.